Okay, so what I'm going to do today is I'm going to build off of the lesson that I posted yesterday. And as a review, because I know you might not have gotten into the notes for this week, really what this quiz is going to be about, because the quiz is on Monday, right? Quiz review is going to be on Friday. I'll post a review. The quiz is going to be about, you're going to be given a data set, okay? And you are supposed to, with that data set, be able to go to an online website that's linked on the Schoology classroom, right? Put in your data, make a histogram or some other graph and describe the data. And then as you scroll down here, right, you're also going to need to be able to find a 5-number summary, which you might not know what that is. That would be watching the thing from yesterday or the notes from this week. Check for outliers, which is a mathematical process on how to do that. And then the last part of Wednesday's lesson today is to make this new graph called a box plot, sometimes called a box and whisker plot. Okay, so what we're going to do is we are going to take this data, and if you go to the online statistics website calculator and you start entering in data, I'll do this for you. So 16, 25, 24, 19, 33, 25, 34, 46, 37, 33, 42, 40, 37, 34, 49, 73, 46, 45, 45, 26, and 28. And what this data is, right, if we go back here and we read it, it is Barry Bonds set the major league record by hitting 73 home runs in a single season in 2001. You guys may or may not have heard of this if you're not into sports. That was a big deal, right, because Bonds broke a long-standing record of Hank Aaron by the end of that season. And so here is data on the number of home runs that he hit in 21 complete seasons. Well, you can see all these home runs, and all of a sudden, there's that guy. And if you heard anything about baseball, you know, he was basically found to have used steroids that year, right? And an asterisk was put in the Hall of Fame because in comparison to all these other years, I mean, it's ridiculous. And he was older. It was like towards the end of his career. Okay, so at the end of the day, it doesn't really matter. What you're supposed to do is make a histogram and describe the data. And you guys know, if you took the last quiz, you do not get to choose how to describe data. So when you hit calculate on this website, hopefully it doesn't shut down, I have to type that in again. We've got our histogram, okay? And when you describe data, you have to use the acronym SOCS, right? And so it's giving you this graph. There's a lot of helpful things on this graph. If you guys scroll over it, right, you can see that this goes from 0 to 20. What is that? That is called a class size of a histogram. And there are 2 seasons where Barry Bonds hit between 0 and 20 home runs. This one, if you scroll over, it is 16, and this one is 19. Right? If you go to how many seasons did he hit between 20 and 40, all of these. Right? All those seasons, he hit that many home runs. And then there's this one class size, right, that goes from 60 to 80.
You want one of these?
No, I'm good.
You're good?
Yeah. He's got that one value of 73. Okay, so using the histogram, right, gives you a lot of information about it. And you can see as I scroll down, there's lots of numbers down here that we're going to use. So this class is not going to be about you manually calculating things. It's going to be about interpreting what you see. Okay, and so when you look at that histogram, what you're supposed to do is use the acronym SOCS. And so if you write down S, the first part of the acronym, that stands for shape. And if you took the quiz and you did not use the acronym SOCS, you didn't get points, right? So that's maybe why things didn't go great for you. You have to actually describe data a certain way. So you would say the shape or the distribution of Bonds home runs in these 21 seasons is approximately symmetric. And so this is a total review of the class so far. Right? So you describe S for shape. Then your next acronym is O, and that's for outliers. And what you're supposed to do on outliers is look back at your histogram. And if you guys remember looking, all the bars were right next to each other. So you would say there are no apparent outliers. There are no apparent outliers in the data. And if there are none, you don't skip it, right? You address the fact that you looked and there are no apparent outliers. Okay, the next one would be a C, which is for center. Okay, and when you guys talk about center, you want to talk about either the mean or the median. And I don't care, right? Because this is going to be super easy from now on if you're using that website. So if you go back and you look at our descriptive statistics website, right here, see the word median? It's given. It's 35.5. Right down here, sample mean, 36.047. So why not just say both, right? And so I'm going to write down, you can write this down as well, the mean number of home runs in a season is, and you just say what it is. The mean was 36.05. And then you would say the median was 35.5. Okay, so all I did was I reported the two values that I looked at from my website. And you're supposed to, use complete sentences, contextualize it, right? Let me know what's happening here. You're talking about the mean number of home runs. Okay, and your last one would be SOCS, and that S stands for spread. Okay, and the easiest measure of spread would be range, right? And so you would say the range of home runs hit is, and you just calculate it. It's the max minus the min. So you would say, well, it's the max value of 73 minus the min value. Looks like 16 is the smallest, which is equal to 53 plus 4 would be 57. Okay, and so when you sign into your quiz on Monday, I'm going to give you a set of data. I'm going to ask you to probably go make a graphical display online and describe it. And that's how you do it. Okay? Okay, great. So now we have the 5-number summary. And if you haven't watched the notes for this week or the lesson from yesterday, that's okay. So the 5-number summary are 5 statistics. It's the min. It's quartile 1. It's the median. It's quartile 3. And it's the max. Okay, now I put this in my last video yesterday, but I'm going to do it again in case, somebody randomly watches this instead of the other one. So this is a number line, right? This should make really good sense to you guys. This is the minimum value, and this is the maximum value, right? And you guys know the median is right in the middle. And so percentage based, right? You're thinking 0% of the way up. This is halfway or 50%, and this is all the way or 100%. And if I add in quartiles, that's just a fancy word for a quarter of the way, right? So 25%. So if I break this up again, that we call quartile 1, and that's at 25% of the way up the data. Then you have 50. This guy here would be quartile 3, which is 75%. Okay. In addition, there's one more thing that you guys would need to know. The distance, right, from the min to the max, there's a name for that, right? It's range. Range is equal to the max minus the min. Okay. Now, there's something else. If you find the distance from quartile 1 to quartile 3, this is what we call the interquartile range. Okay. And we abbreviate that I IQR. And this picture hopefully makes it make more sense, right? The range is a distance, max minus min. And then this is also a range, right? But the range is equal to quartile 3 minus quartile 1. Okay? And so all of that will be in the notes this week if you haven't watched it yet, but it will be now more familiar since you've already seen it. Okay, so, finding the numbers is not what I'm focusing on. The website will have all of these values. So if you again go back to your descriptive statistics, you can just fill out your numbers. So the minimum value is 16. Quartile 1 is 26. The median is 35.5. Quartile 3 is 45. The maximum is 73. And there's this other piece of data I want to write down, which is the IQR, because we're going to need that when we check for outliers. They give it to us. You can see it's right there. It's equal to 19. Okay? And so finding those numbers is not hard, assuming you can enter data into the website. All of this stuff is given. So what do I do with this? What's the whole point of the 5-number summary? Well, there's two things. You have to use that to find outliers, and you're also going to use it to make a box plot. Okay? So let's find outliers. And I put this again in the other video, but we'll do it again because that's what we do. So a number is an outlier if ... Okay, so we now have an official way to check for an outlier. It's an outlier if it's greater than quartile 3 plus 1.5 times the IQR, or smaller than quartile 1 minus 1.5 times IQR. And so what are the expectations for a college prep stats class? Well, all of these numbers were calculated for you. So that was easy, right? You're allowed to have notes on a test. And so you have this written down because this will be in the actual notes you take, right, from watching the lessons. It's also here as a review. So you should have this out on a quiz because on Monday you're going to have to check for outliers. And you don't get to just make up how you do that. There's an official way to do it. Okay, so let's find the first one. So if we do quartile 3, 45, and I add 1.5 times the IQR of 19, right? I grab my calculator and I write 45 plus 1.5 times the IQR. All of those numbers were given to me. I get a value of 73.5. Okay, so that is checking for an outlier on the high end. Well, let's look up here at our data. Okay, are there any values that are bigger, right, greater than 73.5? Wasn't our max number 73, right? And so there is not a season where he hit more than 73.5. So you would say no high outliers. Okay, we checked. There are no values in our data set that are bigger than that. Okay, let's check the low end. Quartile 1 is 26 minus 1.5 of 19. Again, simple calculation, 26 minus 1.5 of 19, and I get negative 2.5. It's not even possible to hit a negative number of home runs, right? And so you would say no low outliers. Okay? And that's what you guys have to write. On the quiz, you're going to have to say, show the work, and then make a statement. If he hit 75, you would be like, yeah, 75 is an outlier since it's bigger than 73.5. You guys good on that? Okay, so the last one. So just as a quick review here, you have data, and then you make graphs. So far we learned about a dot plot. We learned about a stem plot. we learned about a histogram. And now we are going to do a box plot. So this is a new way to display data. And the only way that you do a box plot is by using the 5-number summary. Okay? And so what we're going to do is we're going to start by drawing a number line. And what you want to do with your number line is looking up here, you can see that my minimum value is 16 and my max value is 73. So for me, I have to come up with a number line that goes all the way from 16 to 73. So I'm going to go from like 10 to 80. Okay? And I'm just going to make little tick marks, and I'm going to start at 10, right? And then I'm going to go 15, 20, 25, 30, 35, 40, 45, 50, 55, 60, 65, 70, 75, and one more makes 80. Okay, and I want to reiterate, you guys, if this is new to you and it's hard to keep up, that's because you haven't watched the notes yet, right? And so you're just kind of doing it backwards, but now when you go watch the notes, it'll make more sense, right? It'll be more of a review than this, because this is probably the first time you've seen it. Okay, so a box plot, you take the 5-number summary and you plot those 5 points. Okay, and so what we're going to do is we're going to go to 16, which is just estimated to be right about there. Give yourself some space, so put it up higher. Then we're going to go to quartile 1, which is 26. Then we're going to go to the median, which is 35 and a half. Quartile 3 is 45. And a max value of 73 is way out here. Okay, so you can see that our 5-number summary is how we graph those 5 dots. Now, this is called a box plot, often referred to as a box and whisker plot. So let's draw the box part. So the box part, you guys, always goes from quartile 1 to quartile 3. And so all you have to do is draw in a rectangular box, right? Again, from quartile 1 to quartile 3. That's always how you draw in your rectangular box. Then you draw a line here that's representative of the median. Okay, so you drew your box, you drew in your median, and then you just extend out whiskers from the box to the data point, the max and the min. Okay, so that is another graphical display in addition to the other 3 that we've already learned. Okay, all right, I'm going to stop